Welcome back to the 125 podcast, where the average elephant weighs less than a blue whale's tongue. My name is Stuart Blue. Unfortunately, Lucas is not with us today. However, I have a very special guest, somebody that I know quite well. You could say even very well. Mr. Ben Rackovan. Good high school buddy. Ben, say hello.
Hi, everyone.
And Ben is back in town for Easter break. You got any Easter plans, Ben?
No, nothing too crazy. Just having lunch with my family. And
Are you a church boy? You going to church?
No, not going to church.
Not a church boy. Are you skating out of church or the whole family skating out of church?
My whole family. No one really goes.
Okay, that's fair. That's me too. But yeah, so Ben's been back. He's back for the weekend, saying hello. So I thought, you know what? Get on the podcast.
Oh yeah. So actually, one quick question about the podcast.
Hit me.
Is 125 based on Monty Python the Holy Grail?
You know, Lucas and I were talking about how we wanted to keep it a secret like forever, but honestly, like the fact that you guessed it is amazing.
Yeah, well, because I always associate Lucas with King Arthur since that was his thing for so long.
Right.
And I could never forget.
You know what? I'll actually, we are going to talk about something serious today, but before I get in there, I will tell the story, or I'll give like a little hint at the story of coming up with the name. We sat there for so fucking long trying to think of a name, man. It was so tough. And we started looking at like movie quotes. Maybe we can like incorporate that. And then we were like trying to do our names, but we didn't want to do our names because like what if one of us stops doing it? Then like you don't want to have the name in it. Like it was like this whole thing. And then we were gonna put Blue in there because it's my last name. But then it's like, oh no, it's a name still, and like whatever. And so we started looking at movie quotes, and they were all like either too like serious or too like just didn't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And I started looking at Monty Python quotes, and then we were putting the quotes through like a rap name generator to like get cool like combinations, but we came up with one besides 125 that I really liked, which was Monty Joy. Which I don't know how that came up, but I think it's more we didn't do it because we thought it sounded more like a band name, but I think it's a great band name.
That is a good band name.
Monty Joy.
Yeah,
it sounds like a chilled out like. Yeah,
when we start like our emo
squad,
our emo like alternative group, then we can be
Monty Joy. So anyway, I'm saving Monty Joy, if the band ever happens. But I saw the 125 part and I was like, dude, come on. That's fucking good.
That movie is honestly, you could
probably find
like 50 different quotes from it.
Also just that we were gonna do like the swallow podcast, something with the swallow.
Oh yeah.
Which was gonna be funny.
She uses one of your facts.
Oh yeah, maybe I'll do that. Keep giving him a hint. But yeah, so we just had it on the 125, which I'm very happy with. It's clean. It's to the point. Nobody's ever gotten it though. I remember Toyo was like, "What the fuck is the 125, man?" I'm like, "Oh."
Yeah, I've seen that movie like a good 15 times.
I've seen that movie so many times too. So anyway, as fun as Monty Python and the Holy Grail is, and if you haven't seen it, you should.
It's on Netflix now, by the way.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
Just a couple weeks ago.
Good. Okay, so no excuses then. Everybody should go watch it. Ben and I are going to be talking about college a little bit. As I think I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I took a year off, so all of our friends are sophomores, with the exception of Lucas. All of our friends are sophomores, for the most part, and I'm a freshman. So I know, I'm lame. I'm a year behind. I'm not cool. You guys are gonna be upperclassmen next year, and I'm not. It's so sad.
Yeah.
Oh, it doesn't. Who really gives a shit? However, Ben transferred after his freshman year, so this year was kind of a fresh start for you too.
Yeah, I was
a little bit.
I was essentially a freshman for the first semester at least.
Right. So we just kind of wanted to get into like a little bit about. Because the year's, I mean, as crazy as it sounds, the year is kind of like coming to an end.
Yeah,
which is
left.
Like fucking crazy to think about. But I thought it would just kind of be interesting to like reflect on kind of like both of our first years, if you will, and talk about your whole transferring situation. And also, Ben and I are, I love Ben more than anything in this world, but we are definitely riding two very different waves in college as far as like class load, major, like all that stuff.
It's not that far off.
It's pretty far off. So we could definitely get into that too. I think that's going to be super interesting, but maybe we'll do like a little interview situation here. I wanted to start off with, for those who don't know, where did you start going to school? originally?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I went to Northwestern University, which, if you don't know, is just it's a moderately small school right outside of Chicago. It's in Evanston.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty famous though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty famous, and
For being like a pretty like tough school to get into.
yeah, it has a fairly low acceptance rate. It's definitely not easy to get into.
Did you always know like, okay, I want to go to fucking Northwestern, or was it just kind of like, cause I mean, obviously I know you very well, and I feel like you were just more like, whatever happens happens kind of thing. But was there like a lot of like you wanted to push for Northwestern?
I was kind of of two minds when I was applying to everywhere my senior year, because on one hand I really didn't care where I ended up. I just wanted to have fun somewhere.
Sure.
But on the other hand too, like everyone kept telling me, they're like, yeah, you want to go to a school that has like a name that can open doors for you.
Oh, sure.
And also, both my parents went to Northwestern, which is, I mean, they weren't pressuring me towards it,
but they were.
But like
they were hinting.
Yeah, like my parents went there. I had my grandpa went there.
Yeah, your whole
my
your
aunt and
family.
uncle went there.
Yeah.
I have two cousins who go there.
Yeah,
like
definitely.
It was basically a cult.
Even if they, like, even if they weren't trying to put pressure on you, there was a little bit of pressure on you.
And especially like the whole thing I was gonna make my decision based on was like which ended up costing more.
Sure.
Because I was because Northwestern it's a very expensive school.
Yeah, it's an extremely expensive school.
But they also have like ridiculous amounts of financial aid. So when the financial aid came in, and it was like,
and you also had quite a few scholarships, didn't you?
They just like give out scholarships.
Okay.
They switched to a grant only policy, so they don't actually do loans. They just like give you free money.
That's
so,
okay.
So yeah, basically like when I got my acceptance letter there and they gave me my financial aid and it was comparable to a state school, I was just kind of like,
oh sure.
I was
at
like,
that point, it's
at
like,
that point I was like, yeah. Like,
so what
I might as
were
well.
what I don't even know, what other schools did you apply to? You applied to
did
Madison, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I did. I applied to Madison, Minnesota, because for the sweet in-state tuition.
Sure.
I applied to Northwestern. I applied.
Any smaller schools?
Yeah, I applied to Case Western in Ohio.
Okay.
Because
you got family down there.
I love Ohio. Ohio's my second home. Where else did I apply? I applied to Stanford, and I turned down their acceptance letter. Definitely got it.
Did you?
No, I'm kidding. I didn't
Oh,
get
God
it.
damn it. I would have fucking believed you.
Yeah, no, I got rejected from there right away.
Did you?
I got flat out rejected from that one.
Yeah.
And then I got waitlisted at Vanderbilt, I think.
God.
I don't think I would have gone to Vanderbilt, though. But it was really pretty.
That's pretty cool. So, anyway, when you got that Northwestern acceptance, were you pretty much like, yeah, that's, I mean, after the pricing came in, you were like, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Like, after that, I pulled the trigger and I, like, confirmed it pretty quickly.
Sure.
Yeah.
So did you know, like, what you were going to study? Did you have any idea? Or you were kind of just...
Yeah, I went in fairly undecided.
Sure. And actually, for those, I mean, I'm sure anybody who's not friends with you doesn't know this. And I do truly want to say this without sounding like a tool. But you were like, you did very well in high school. Like, you were just like when it comes to schools, like school smarts, book smarts, like you definitely like excel. So I'm just curious, like, was there anything that kind of like peaked? Because like me, I was like, if I'm not doing something with art, I don't know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But I feel like you kind of had like, I don't know, not more like opportunities, but like you pretty much could have jumped in any direction.
Yeah.
And pretty much been extremely successful. So was there like anything where you're like, that's what I want to study? Or were you kind of just like, man, I don't even fucking know?
I mean, like, I always swung a little more towards the math and sciences than the humanities. And for most of my life, I've been kind of trying to convince myself that I like don't want to be a doctor because I mean it's just so much work. It's such a crazy lifestyle. Man.
But I wanted to be a doctor so bad, but my parents made me go to film school.
Yeah,
they just Stuart, you're going to film school.
Sometimes, your parents just have to pressure you in that direction.
No, so you were trying to convince yourself that you want to be a doctor.
So I was basically like telling myself that I was like undecided. I was like, yeah, I'm going in completely fresh. I have not swayed in any direction.
Sure.
But like as it went on and on, I was like, yeah, like I'm going the pre-med route.
But why was that appealing to you? Like, why? Well, first of all, why was it appealing to you? And second of all, why were you trying to reject it? Like, why not just embrace it? I mean, I know it's. I mean, obviously, like pre-med's fucking difficult. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But if you were like, always had it in the back of your mind, you know, why were you like, oh fuck, I don't want to.
Well, okay, so to how it piqued my interest. That's a good question. I don't really know. Just like growing up, I was always like, oh yeah, that's a pretty cool job. And then
you're way too chill, man.
One of the most interesting things was whenever I read a book. Like I tended to read a lot of fantasy books and stuff like that because that stuff is sick.
Yeah.
But I think the first one ever was when I read Dracula for school. Dracula's one of the worst books I've ever read. I absolutely despise it. But there is a character in it, Dr. Van Helsing, and I was like, holy shit, this dude's so cool. Like, he was a doctor. He was also, like, a supernatural crime fighter, basically. Yeah. And I was like, he always did, like, some medical stuff in the book. I was like, you know what? That's fucking sick.
No way.
And then I read another book. What was that one? It was called The Way of Kings. If you have a lot of free time, pick it up. It's, like, 1,200 pages. It's really, really, really long.
Jesus.
But anyways, it centers around a character who he was raised by his dad, who was a doctor. Okay. So he was raised to be a doctor, basically, but he ended up, like, rejecting that, and he, like, joined the army, and he ended up getting, like, some crazy superpowers and stuff. But one of the interesting things I found was, like, yeah, he was half the time he was, like, flying all over the place using, like, these magic powers. But I always thought he was the coolest when he was, like, doing emergency first aid on his, like, troop mates and stuff like that.
So it was kind of just, like...
Yeah, so it was kind of
just, like... From the get-go, you were just like, this is cool.
I picked it up, and I was always thinking, like, that's just... like such a cool thing to be able to do, to just like look at somebody and be like, yeah, I know what's wrong, I know what to do.
So are you? I mean, I guess we're gonna get into this more when we get up to speed here. But were you more interested in like kind of like a family physician type of deal, or something more specific? Like,
yeah, that's actually I still don't really know that.
Okay. I didn't know if you were like, oh, dermatology's awesome or something like that.
Oh, okay, well,
because I wanted to ask because I'm genuinely curious if any of that stuff like grosses you out.
I actually, it's pretty interesting. A lot of people have different things that gross them out.
Because I brought it up because I remember when I saw my dermatologist and he was, anyway, at a ward. It was disgusting, and I was like, does this ever gross you out? And he was like, not at all. Mm-hmm. But he goes, but mouth stuff? I could never be a dentist. That's fucking disgusting. So I think it's funny that some people have this like, is just repulsive, but other stuff is totally fine. I was just curious if there's anything like that with you.
I would say that, yeah, skin stuff and mouth stuff, I'm not like, there's nothing that makes me like totally shut down or anything like that. Sure. But that stuff I'm like not a super huge fan of. But like insides, I've never really minded.
I'm totally taking that quote out of context. Insides, I've never really minded those.
Yeah, like I don't know.
That's totally fair. So anyway, you're at Northwestern. But you didn't like declare that you were gonna go to like pre-med or anything, or did you?
You actually pre-med, you don't really need to declare anything at all. It's just like a certain set of classes that you take.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if there was like you had to like apply for some separate school or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's just basically you take like some biology, some chemistry, some physics, and then you apply to med school.
Gotcha.
But no, I never declared a major when I was at Northwestern.
Okay. So you were just kind of like taking.
Yeah,
just like.
Also, it was pretty interesting. So everyone was supposed to have a advisor who would like kind of meet with them and talk about like which classes would be a good idea.
Sure.
And my advisor didn't contact me until 2 weeks before the year ended. So the entire time I was basically just picking out like whatever I thought looked cool. So first semester I was in my pre-med classes, and then I was in like intro to fossils.
Just like something random.
Yeah, so I took some interesting classes.
And what was the most out there class that you took?
The fossils one was pretty wild.
It sounds wild.
Yeah, that was probably the craziest one. That was an interesting class. I had a professor who was honestly, I mean, he was very fit to teach the fossils class. He was about like 95 years old. And
he was just actual dirt. He was just a pile of dirt.
He would literally just stand there for like an hour and just like talk about random stuff. And the class did not make. He for about the first, I would say, like 4 or 5 weeks, he just jumped around a bunch of different topics and like didn't even go in chronological order, so no one had any idea what was going on.
That's awesome.
But
that's
you know, I learned a lot.
Hey,
I forgot it all.
So yeah, it's in one ear right out the other. But anyway, so overall, did you have a good experience at Northwestern? Because I mean, obviously, I'm asking because you ended up transferring, so clearly something didn't sit well with you.
That's a good question. I would say it was very much a mixed bag of experiences.
How so?
I guess I'll start at the beginning.
Open it up, buddy.
So
that's what this is for. It's like a therapy session.
Yeah, I can finally open up about my deep mental issues.
Yeah, let's get into everything.
So anyways, yeah, before the school school year started, I had actually signed up for like a pre-orientation trip.
Sure. I remember this. I remember this.
Because Northwestern is on the trimester system, or quarter system technically, because there's the summer quarter. It's trimesters. So they start a little bit later and end a lot later than most other
What are we talking
schools.
about? A little bit starting date was around what? Mid-September, right?
Yeah. So my year last year, I think our first day of school was like September 17th, but they also had like a full week of orientation before that.
Oh. Okay.
But I heard that this year they actually shifted it back a week and they started like September 28th.
But you got out pretty late.
Yeah, we got out. I think my last day was like June 14th or something like that. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I got back and then I started work the next day on like my.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was rough, but it was also rough to watch everyone like finishing finals as I was taking my first quizzes and midterms. But that's neither here nor there.
That's fine.
So anyways, since everyone, like all my friends from home were already gone at that point, I was like,
Sure.
You know what, I'll just do a pre-orientation thing because they had
to like meet people.
Yeah, they had a bunch of different programs to link people up.
Sure.
So I did one that was
like a camping trip, wasn't it?
It was a week-long backpacking trip through the Superior Hiking Trail up in Minnesota.
That sounds pretty bad.
Or no, not Minnesota. Michigan. Sorry.
I was going to say Minnesota.
No, wrong way. So yeah, we went, I can't remember how many miles it was. It was like maybe like 35 miles over the course of like 5 days or something. So it wasn't too crazy. It was very unevenly distributed.
How many kids?
There were 10 people in most of the groups. It was 2 leaders and then 8 others, 8 freshmen. But I think that the entire trip had like 150 people overall.
That's pretty solid.
So we got split up. Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I was set to be in a different group, but right before I left for the trip, I got diagnosed with celiac disease.
Oh.
So yeah, it was literally like 2 days before I left for college. It was really cool. But
it was awesome.
So at the last minute, they had to switch me into a like dietary restriction group. So I met a bunch of different people who had like gluten insensitivities and celiac disease. So it actually ended up being pretty good.
That's that. Sharing gluten-free snacks on the trail and stuff.
Yeah.
There you go.
Except they messed something up, and we didn't get a spice kit to start out with, so we couldn't really like cook anything that tasted good. And we quickly found out that gluten-free bagels, which was like basically what we had for breakfast every day, we had gluten-free bagels and gluten-free oatmeal, were 2 of the worst foods in existence. Like, we would literally wake up and sometimes we would just like not eat because it just wasn't worth it.
It was just that fucking garbage.
But I was
just like eating cardboard.
Yeah, we ran out of food. Well, we didn't like run out of food.
It sounds like a fucking.
We didn't have enough. We 100% did not have enough food. Because at the end
sounds awful.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I'll get all the bad parts out of the way first.
Okay. Sure.
But yeah, so we didn't have enough food. It was very
no water.
No, we actually. It was one of the. Yeah. So they told us to bring a bunch of water bottles. We had about 4, I think. They were all like a liter. So I was like, damn, that's a lot of water. But I was always curious of like, how are we gonna like get water once we're on the trail? Like, do they have like stations for it? But what we would actually do is we would go to like creeks and fill up our water bottles and then use iodine pills to sterilize it, which was actually pretty fucking cool. But my water bottles are still like stained brown from the creek water, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, it was, although we ran out of food, it was really, really cold because we were pretty far north at that point. I mean, we were basically, I think we were about 2 miles away from the Canadian border. And even though it was September, we were getting down into like 20s and 30s at night.
Really?
Yeah, it was.
God.
And even during the day, it wouldn't get hotter than like 50s or 60s. Not even 60s, probably 50s.
Wow.
So yeah, we were freezing all the time, and it rained a bunch.
So did you do like, was it like 2.5 days there, 2.5 days back, or was it like a big loop?
So they dropped us off way at the top, like up by Canada, and then we hiked down to down south to another camp, and then we all like met up there.
Did they like bus you back?
Yeah, and then we just had a bus ride back.
And so you went straight from there to school.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
But
yeah, I'm sorry.
no worries.
Jumping the gun here.
But yeah, so I made a lot of good friends on that trip. Those were probably the best friends that I made at Northwestern overall, I would say. I had 2 friends who had celiac disease, which was great.
Hey, you guys were like the little celiac gang.
Yeah, we were just like
celiac. Celiac. I put a Z in there. Celiac.
But
celiac.
Yeah, so I had a lot of fun on it. At the beginning, I was kind of skeptical because I was like, holy shit, I'm so hungry, I'm so cold, like fuck this, I just want to go eat. But towards the end, I was like, you know what, we're just gonna hike along the trail, just like try to forget everything. Time, we started like playing games and stuff.
Sure.
We would play like I'm Bringing Blank Camping, you know that one. And we would like sing songs.
Yeah.
It was actually really fun because in high school I did the musical a couple times.
We did one together.
Yeah, we did, but I never saw it because you were a lead.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was on stage too often.
But anyways, so although I think I'm a pretty decent singer, but I was always overshadowed by everyone who was like way better than me. So but on the trip, like no one was really that good. So whenever I was singing, people would think I was like super, super good, and I'd be like, I don't have anyone to.
Shit, dude.
Yeah, so
that's awesome.
Got a pretty big head, but no big deal.
That's all right. So I guess well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Are you good?
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to get into a little bit before we talk about like the whole transfer situation to Madison, because I wanted to bounce kind of how I felt off of you as well. But when it came to the beginning of that freshman year, because our friend group in high school was like really tight.
Yeah.
Like extremely tight. Like brothers. Did you find it like difficult to kind of make new friends? Not I mean, you were such a charismatic guy that I know you would never have any trouble making friends. But was it ever difficult because you were like, man, I just like the guys that I've known since fucking kindergarten aren't here anymore. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, was that ever tough for you? Because it was definitely tough for me, and I was just kind of curious if you went through the same experience.
Yeah, I would say that I definitely did. Because like once I got back from the trip and I was like actually like at school, they like dropped me off. I was in my dorm room, and I was like, wow, I really don't know anybody here. Because there was like one person from our high school who went there, or no, sorry, 2 from our high school who went there, and I wasn't really friends with either of them.
Right.
So I mean, I didn't have trouble at all making like surface level friends. Like I had plenty of people I'd walk across the street and be like, oh hey, what's up, what's going on?
Right.
But I did really have a tough time making like deep
friends.
Meaningful, like really good friends like that I would want to hang out with all the time.
I guess, and I mean I want to speak on that myself a little bit too, but before I do you think that any of that contributed to why you didn't want to stay at Northwestern?
Yeah, I'm sure it did. I think in some ways...
I know it was a mixed bag.
Yeah.
There wasn't one thing, but...
I think, yeah, in some ways that definitely... It just kind of, like, started the year off in a not so good way.
Right.
Compared to, like, if it had started off and I had made a bunch of close friends right away, I'm sure it would have been a different scenario.
I mean, and I know that's... You know, I mean, it's tons of freshmen have a ton of trouble making new friends, but it definitely, like... I don't know, just like our friend group in particular. I remember talking to you guys like all the time, and we would all still be like, I have friends here, but like can't wait to come home for this weekend or for this break or whatever. And I remember, so by the time I started, obviously you guys had already been at school for a year, so people were kind of like had their own, you know, friend groups and whatever. Mm-hmm. But I just remember being like, I had Lucas, and anybody who has ever listened to this podcast knows that Lucas and I have become like brothers this year because I just hung out with him every day, and I was so stoked to have Lucas. But other than that, I was like, I don't even want friends. Like fuck that, because I was living at home. I didn't have any roommates, didn't have any suite mates, and especially first semester, didn't. I mean, I was cool with like everybody in class. I talked to like tons of people in class, but I had like zero desire to like ever meet up with anybody. I was just like, go to class, come home, see Lucas. Go to class, come home, see Lucas, and that was it.
Yeah.
And for the first like half of the first semester, I was just so okay with that. But I think that like really affected my year. And just this semester, I'm starting to like finally open up and make some like actual friends that I can like actually like am comfortable going out with and like seeing like late at night and partying with and, you know, whatever. But that was like definitely like really tough for me. I mean, I was holding myself back a little bit.
Yeah.
But just like not having you guys or like I had pretty good friends in Spain and just like starting over again. I was like, dude, fuck this. Like I'll wait for my friends to come home on break. Like I don't care. You know what I mean? It was tough. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to bring it up because I was just curious if that had some effect on why you decided to transfer.
Yeah, I'm sure that was probably like subconsciously a factor in it.
Sure.
Because it is tough when you have like people that you've known for so long, like literally your entire life.
Right.
And
all one day it's just like
and then suddenly you're in a place where just like
can't access any of them.
Nobody is there if you need them.
Right. No, I know. No, it's like super tough. So other than that, I just want to get back to just kind of like the year as a whole. What about your year at Northwestern made you feel like maybe this isn't the right fit for me?
I would say that a lot of it came down to kind of the culture that there was on that campus. And like, I don't think it was a super blatant thing. Like, I don't think anyone was consciously like trying to be a douchebag or anything like that.
Sure.
But there was a lot of stuff that I noticed. I think it probably because of like my personal attributes more. Like one of the things I noticed right away was that it was kind of a little bit of people trying to flex on each other constantly with like how much they were studying and how much they were doing like constantly.
Gotcha.
So like I'd be in like the library studying and I'd hear someone say, oh man, I've been studying for this test for like 4 hours today. And so I'd be like, dude, that's nothing. I stayed up like until 5 a.m. last night studying for this test.
You were like,
and I was like,
gotcha.
These people are crazy. And a lot of the times I would start feeling like I would do all my work for the day. I'd be like, all right, I'm set. I think I did everything I need to. And then I'd overhear people talking about it. And I'd be like, geez, is there like more I should be doing? And it got to the point where I was like stressed out all the time, even when I didn't really have anything to do.
That's super interesting. Because it feels like, I mean, I guess bougie isn't the right word, but it's like the only word that's really coming to mind to like describe what it sounds like the vibe was a little. Not even bougie, but just it's so interesting to hear that because that's so like the opposite of how how a lot of people would describe their college experience.
Yeah.
It is so like just a complete 180 than pretty much like any of our other friends' experiences. You know, like I mean, people can be annoying and douchey but it's usually flexing like how many parties they go to or like how many girls they get or whatever. But at being at Northwestern where people are like, I studied more than you. No, I studied more than you. It's just like such a foreign concept to me. And I'm sure to like a lot of people, it's just like interesting. I just find that really interesting.
But yeah, so anyways, other than that, there were a couple other things too in the culture. You were saying bougie earlier, which
I guess it's not like preppy, maybe.
Yeah, but no, I think bougie's pretty accurate. 'Cause, well, just like a quick background thing. Northwestern based like tuition, room and board, whatever. Their cost base around I think it's about $75,000 a year.
It's a fucking
which is insane. School. It's like it's like top five,
astronomical. I mean, it's crazy.
But like I said earlier, like their financial aid is pretty crazy. Like my family is by no means poor. Like we're a solidly middle class family.
Yeah.
And I was getting financial aid to make it like about as cheap as a state school, if not even a little cheaper.
Sure.
So like that's obviously dropping it down quite a bit.
Right.
I found out probably about halfway through the year that I think about 60% of the people who go to Northwestern are like full payers.
Wow.
Yeah. So
that blows my fucking mind, man.
And like it's not honestly, to be like, it's not a huge difference in terms of their attitudes for the most part, but you get interesting things that pop up. Like, one of my good friends from there, probably like my best friend over the course of that year.
Sure.
She was super nice. Like, we always had great conversations.
Yeah.
But there would just be interesting times where she would be like, yeah, so over spring break, like, I'm flying out to Puerto Rico to go hang out there for a while. And I'd be like, oh, that's cool. And she'd be like, oh, are you doing anything? I'd be like, no. And
going back to Whitefish Bay, Wisconsin.
Like, I'm going back home. I'm just going to hang out there. And she'd be like, oh, why don't you go somewhere? I'd be like, oh, well, I just, like, don't have money for a plane ticket and a hotel and all that. Yeah. And she just, like, kind of awkward to be like, oh, okay. Yeah. And it's just kind of like an interesting thing because people don't really consider a lot of times when they're brought up that way that other people can't always do those kinds of things.
Right. And it's also interesting because, like, I mean, there could be people listening to this who would be like, hey, fuck you, you went to Whitefish Bay. Like,
yeah, obviously.
You're one to talk about being... and that's, like, sure. I mean, Whitefish Bay is a pretty, like, upper middle class...
Don't worry, though. I'm on the lower side of the Whitefish Bay spectrum.
Yeah, right. right. No, I mean, like, my family, too. Like, definitely, at least my mom. And, so, I even, like, felt that sometimes at Whitefish Bay.
Yeah.
I remember, like, you know, people getting, like, Land Rovers for their 16th birthday and being like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. You know, so, like, just imagining that, but times 2 and everybody at school.
Yeah.
It sounds... I mean, I can see why you might have been, like, a little... I don't even know if irritated is the right word, because I mean, you're not going to, like...
It was just kind of, like... It just kind of, like, put me off sometimes, because I was just like, wow, this is, like, honestly a different world.
Yeah.
Okay, then my last thing about the campus culture.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things about Northwestern is that they have their frats and sororities on campus. Like, they're literally just, like, if you walk 2 feet from the dorms, like, the frat houses are right there.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's weird. Honestly, it's really strange because you'll have, like, people just, like, walking around drunk on campus, like, just walking past the dining halls, walking past the dorms, walking past classrooms. Yeah, it's really interesting. But one of the things that comes with that is that about 50% of Northwestern students are involved in a frat or a sorority, which is, like, astronomically high compared to other schools.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's in the top, like,
why?
3.
And now, why is that? Is it because they're so accessible? Because they're right there?
I think that might be part of it. And also, because this is kind of what I was leading to with it, like, a lot of the social stuff is pretty much solely orchestrated through the Greek system.
Gotcha.
So, because, like, when you're thinking about it, when you see people in frats and sororities, like, a lot of the times they'll pretty much mostly hang out with people in those, like, same organizations. Right. And when you've got, like, over half your school in it, that becomes a lot of the social scene.
Sure.
And, I mean, like, I don't mind going to, like, a frat party here and there, but I'm not...
But you weren't, like, a frat guy.
Yeah, I wasn't, like, gonna go out to a party every single night. Like, go out on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays.
Yeah. No, absolutely not.
And I think because of that, I ended up being fairly isolated from a fair portion of the people that I may have gotten along with.
Sure. No, that definitely makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, I mean, I'll hold my thought until we unpack everything. But are you just saying that, like, it was pretty much just all those social situations that led to you wanting to transfer? I mean, like, did you enjoy your class? Like, classes were good?
Yeah, actually, I never had any problems with my classes except for one of the professors.
we won't get into that right now.
Basically,
call him out, Ben.
TLDR, he had on our first exam, the class average was a 30%. And then he yelled at everyone for not studying enough, despite everyone having, like, 6 hours per day of studying.
Yeah, that sounds like a problem with the professor.
Needless to say, I dropped the class, but
well, good for you.
But yeah, so I enjoyed my classes. I wasn't in a ton of extracurriculars. I was on the club tennis team there.
Sure.
Which I had fun with. They were all good guys. I made some more friends there.
It's just, it's very interesting to me because there are a lot of people who might not feel right at school for many different reasons, especially freshman year can be, like, super tough.
Mm-hmm.
Like, super, super tough. You know, making friends and fitting in and, you know, anything. So how did you, because you have, like, a little bit of wisdom here, if you will, how did you identify that this is a problem, I need to transfer, as opposed to, no, it's freshman year, it's going to get better.
Right.
Because that's a very fine line. Because, like, a lot of the shit you're saying, I could be like, well, I go through that, so does that mean I should fucking transfer? Like, is it... So how did you, like, identify that you were like, okay, I just know that I would be better off if I wasn't here? I'm just really curious what you have to say about that.
Yeah, so basically a lot of people will start filling out transfer applications, like, within, like, the month that they get there.
Is that when you started filling yours out?
No, actually, so I refuse to let myself even, like, think about the possibility of transferring, really, for...
Oh, why's that?
For the first quarter.
Just because of the
first trimester.
Family pressure and whatever?
I mean, to some degree, I was like, yeah, I mean...
Was it, like... I mean, I know that... I'm sure that you didn't get, like, very embarrassed, but was it, like, a little bit of embarrassment that you're like, God damn it, I'm at the wrong school? Like...
Yeah, like, I didn't want to, like, admit that I may have messed up somewhere.
Sure. No, that makes sense.
But I also just, like... As much as I was not necessarily enjoying myself that first trimester, I still wanted to give it a chance, and I didn't.
Sure.
I thought that if I committed to like oh yeah, I'm just gonna transfer right away.
Oh, then you would the rest of the year you wouldn't be putting in any effort.
I would just close myself off, and I would have an even worse time.
Right. No, that totally makes sense.
So yeah, so I made it through the first quarter. I didn't have a great time. It was fine. Like, it wasn't the worst thing that's ever happened to me.
Sure.
But then I went home from winter break, and I had a great time with everyone back here, and I was like, damn, this is the life.
This is what it's supposed to be.
And then when I went back for that next winter quarter, I ended up, like I said, I dropped that one class.
Yeah.
And at Northwestern, since they're on the trimester systems, like, you don't really have to worry about dropping one class here or there, because, like, you take at least 12 classes in a year.
Yeah.
So it's not really that big a deal. So I didn't pick up another one after that, so I was only in 3 classes that quarter.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, and at that point, I didn't really have that much schoolwork to distract myself with, like I did the first quarter.
Gotcha.
So, and on top of that, it was also the winter. So I honestly realized that...
Were you just in your dorm all day?
Yeah, I realized I had very little to do. I spent most of my time in the library trying to figure out something to do, or just, like, playing video games or something. And at that point, I was like, I don't really know how to fix this.
Sure.
So I tried going to some different clubs, tried to get out and play tennis more with the guys from the club team, just, like, texted people to see what was up.
And it just wasn't.
But yeah, at that point, I mean, I was doing all that, but in some ways, I think I had missed a sweet spot in that first quarter where people had
found their groups or their niche or whatever.
And so, like, even though I was friends with people, we would always have a good time hanging out. You just almost never received, like, invitations from people. Yeah, it was.
But I'm gonna tear up. I'm gonna tear up. But no, that I get that.
Yeah, so at that point, that was not at all a fun quarter. I didn't have a good time, although I did play some good video games, so that was good.
Hey, that sounds good.
But at that point, I was kind of starting to think, like, okay, like, I don't really know what to do at this point other than, like, completely uproot myself. And it pretty much continued into the third quarter. It got a little bit better. Like, I found some more people to hang out with. Some of the guys that I worked with actually ended up being really cool. I hadn't really known them. So we started hanging out more. We'd have big, like, 3-hour games of Magic the Gathering and stuff like that.
Love it.
Yeah, it honestly was a good time. And that quarter, I started thinking, I was like, maybe it isn't so bad. But for every day that I thought that it was getting better, there would also be a day where I had absolutely nothing going on.
And it was just awful.
Yeah, it was just not good. I would just, like, be completely bored and empty the whole day.
Sure.
So at the end, like, as the transfer deadline was coming on, I was like, you know what? I think that it's time to switch.
Sure. So you make that decision. Were your parents? I'm assuming your parents were cool with it.
Yeah, my parents didn't really care.
They're pretty fucking chill.
Mm-hmm. And they had come up to visit a couple times, and they agreed that Northwestern definitely had a different vibe than from when they were there.
Sure. Yeah. No, I'm sure. So we decided on Madison.
Mm-hmm.
why Madison? Why not like U of M or anything like that? Like other places that you applied to? Is it because you knew more people at Madison?
Yeah, so I knew I would at least be starting with like a couple friends there that would introduce me to whoever. Yeah. So I knew that
we have some buddies from high school. I mean, a shitload of kids from high school went to Madison, but we have some like really close friends who went to
Madison. So I knew that would be a good start, and I mean, I enjoyed being close to home. Madison and Northwestern are actually pretty much equidistant from Whitefish Bay. So I didn't want to really go that much further.
Sure.
Minnesota's pretty far away.
Yeah, Minnesota's a little bit of a hike.
And, I mean, Madison had always been my second choice when I was
applying. So it was kind of like...
It was either...
You didn't really think about it. It was just like,
I was just like... I didn't even fill out an application for anywhere else.
Really?
So, in retrospect, I could have gotten screwed if they had
holy shit, yeah. I was just going to say, kind of took a gamble with that one.
Yeah. But, so... And I actually, it was pretty fun when I was filling out the application. I managed to do the whole thing, and no one else ever read it. Fun fact.
What do you mean no one else ever read it?
No one else ever like looked over it, read the essays or anything. I just fucking did it.
You just like sent it. First draft in.
Yeah,
pretty much.
One of the prompts that they had on the application was like, "Why do you want to go to Madison?" So I was like, "Huh, good question." So I started thinking of like all the reasons, and I wrote it all into an essay, and after I wrote the essay, I was like, damn, yeah, I think this is probably the right decision. Because...
Just like physically putting it down.
Yeah.
Like, holy shit, I want to go.
Because it was actually... My essay for Northwestern, when they had like a why Northwestern question, a lot of schools have that for their applications, and I remember that was probably one of the worst pieces of writing that I've ever produced in my entire life. You were just
like, no, I don't know, my parents went.
I was like, it's cool, it's a good place, by a lake, that's cool. But I remember my parents read it and they're like, this isn't very good, and I was like, yeah, I know it's not very good. But comparing that to like
why you want to go to
when I was writing like the why Madison, I literally just like the words like flowed out. I was like, this is great. And
so you could kind of tell at that.
Yeah, point. At that point, I was like
making a good decision.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyway, we'll skip ahead a little bit here. So you fill out the application, year ends, summer goes by, and then boom, you're like starting fresh again.
Yeah.
So what was that like? Being like, oh, fucking A. So this is kind of funny too because Ben and I can I can interject a little bit more here because I was starting my freshman year as Ben had just moved to Madison. So we were both kind of like, I guess you weren't a freshman, but we were both kind of like new to a school. Obviously mine's much closer to home, but so I kind of like knew the area already. But did you just like squeeze right in like much easier than?
No, I would say it was still like it wasn't a perfect start by any means.
But you had a little bit of a jumping off point with the friends.
I did, yeah. But I remember when I first got dropped off there, I was like, God damn it, here we go again.
You get dropped off right on the campus, and you're like, God damn it.
So
time to start grinding again.
One of the hard parts was actually finding my way around at first.
Oh, the campus.
Madison is absolutely massive. Northwestern was okay for the size of school. It was fairly large. But it was a very long and skinny campus, so it was like pretty linear. And if you just like walked one way, like you would find what you were looking for. But Madison is just kind of like sprawling out all over the place. I honestly had no idea where I was going at first. I would have to Google Map like everything.
That's so funny.
But yeah, so it was pretty interesting.
That is interesting.
But yeah, so like I guess we'll just make a quick comparison here. The first night I was there, I like met up with some people from my dorm because I unfortunately had to live in the dorms again since I transferred and I didn't really have another choice.
Yeah, that sucks.
It is what it is. It's not the end of the world. But I hung out with some people from my dorm and I was like, damn, this is cool. These people are chill. And then that night, someone that I knew from high school, I honestly don't even remember who it was.
Toya?
It was probably Toya. Yeah. They invited me to go hang out and like go to a party. And I was like, you know what? Let's do it. And so I invited the people who I was hanging out with, and they're like, nah, we're good, we're just gonna go back. And I was like, okay, cool. And I went and met up with another group and hung out with them for a while, and I went back like at like 2 o'clock in the morning.
You were like, holy shit, this is
like,
awesome.
I was like, damn, this is like more than I did all of last year.
You know, but that's how I felt a couple weeks ago. I was with Lucas, and we went out for the first time. That was my first time like going out at night.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't even fucking tell know you went. I mean, when all the guys are back around break time, we always, get smashed one night and have a good time. But, like, I had not been out with, like, college friends. Mm-hmm. And Lucas and I were, like, laying at his house. And a buddy of mine was, like, texting us, like, do you want to, like, come over? Like, you want to, like, come chill? Like, we get some brews. Like, we'll just kick it. And I was just like, I don't know. And I'm such a lazy piece of shit. I mean, not even lazy, but I just, like, I like being alone. Yeah. And I like being at my house.
I'm the same way.
I don't love... I mean, whenever I do go out, I always have a great time. But, like, I'd rather just, like, go home and play video games by myself. Mm-hmm. Like, nothing wrong with anything. But my buddy texts us, and it was, like, 10 o'clock at night already. I was like, you know what, Lucas? We're having fucking fun tonight, man. We are fucking having fun tonight. So we, like, went over there. We had, like, a good-ass time, drinking and chilling. And then somebody else texted me, and we went to this party with them. And then on the way there, I saw other friends that I knew from school. And it was just, like, Lucas was with me. He's like, damn, you got some friends, dude. Like, I mean, it was, like... And, like, that one night... And it's so funny because, like, that night... And I'm sure you kind of felt this way, too, with your first night going out there. Like... was probably so, like, nothing to the people that you were with. But for you were probably like, dude, that was fucking sick. Like, I actually did shit. And that's how I felt. Like, I just saw a couple friends for, like, a couple hours, like, and I'm like, dude, everybody does this, like, 2 or 3 days every single weekend. Like, what the shit? And that night was just, like, whatever for everybody else. But for me, dude, that was, like... awesome. Yeah. And I just got to fucking do that. I got home at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, yes, yeah. And I remember I sound like such a fucking loser because I live with my mom, but I was talking to my mom earlier that day. She was like, Stuart, go fucking drink, like go have fun. Goddamn, you don't do anything. I was like, God, you're right. So, but I totally relate to that.
Yeah,
totally.
And yeah, that was just like it was a good kicking off point for the year.
Definitely.
There's definitely been like some rocky times since then. Because, I mean,
sure.
I have more friends, but I still don't have, like...
Height.
I have, like... The funny thing is, I actually do have a good group, but... And they're the guys, like, I'm living with next year. But, unfortunately, they live in a, like, different spot than me, because, like, I'm still in the dorms. And the dorm...
It's just tough to
the dorm, like, social scene is kind of, like, disconnected from the people in apartments. So it's been kind of tough to, like, meet up with them a lot.
But next year, that'll probably... I
mean, next year... Literally, I mean, I'm going to be living with them, so I'm not worried about it at all.
No, definitely. No, I think that you have, like, a pretty interesting perspective going to, because those are 2 schools, Northwestern and Madison, that are very, I don't know what the right word is, not desirable, but very just, like, well-known, and, like, a lot of people want, and, like, having your experience at both is just, like, very interesting to me, the whole transfer situation. Luckily, I will be in Madison next weekend for a little visit time. Yeah. I've actually never been around campus.
Yeah, we'll have to show you around.
So
there's a lot of cool places.
I'm extremely excited, heading up on Saturday. Don't know what's going to happen. Maybe the podcast clip for this week will be footage from there. Who knows? Yeah, that might not be a bad idea.
Yeah. Oh, there's actually one really scenic spot we could go to if you want.
Oh, we could hold hands?
Yeah, it'd be really cute.
We could have a beautiful moment. Well, I'm so happy that you're doing better overall. Yeah. I know it's not perfect, but it does make me happy that you're doing better. So overall, you would rate this year. You think you made the right decision?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know. Maybe not the right decision for everyone. Like, I'm sure there are people who would have done better the other way, but for me, you, yeah, I think that was.
You have no desire to transfer again. Nope. Are you done with that? New school every year for 4 years.
I told my mom about that. Like, after I came back from first semester over winter break, I was like, yeah, I figure out where I'm going next year.
Right. Yeah, damn near. Oh, and one last thing I want to touch on again was the pre-med situation.
Oh yeah.
So is that what you're gonna be? So that is what you're gonna be doing. We have officially Dr. Ben. Dr. Rackovan. Is that what's gonna happen?
In theory, yeah. So I finally declared my major in biochem. Pretty cool. I haven't taken a biochem class yet because there's only 2 in the major. Oh. But, yeah, it's just mostly bios and chems instead of biochems.
No biochems.
But yeah, so that corresponds a lot to the pre-med track.
Sure.
So I don't really have to worry about it. I'm still set to graduate early.
Oh right, we were talking about this last.
Yeah, so this summer I'm taking a EMT training course.
I'm gonna miss you.
Yeah, I know I'm gonna miss you too, but I'll be back for a fair amount.
I'll be back.
But so I'm gonna be certified for that. I'll hopefully be doing that for the next few years to kind of get an idea of what it's obviously a little different from being like a doctor, like setting up appointments and all that.
Obviously.
But it'll give me at least a decent idea of what it feels
no,
like.
absolutely. I think it's just so funny that like you're like grinding out this, like doing some EMT this summer, just declared biochem, and I'm just like, yeah, I've watched some experimental films today. We watched a 7-minute video of a lemon. Like, it's like fucking ridiculous.
Hey, someone's gotta watch it.
Hey, somebody's gotta watch it. I took the L, had to watch it. Actually wrote a whole paper about that.
Did you?
Not kidding.
About the lemon?
About the lemon video.
How long was the paper?
It was it was like one short answer, like take home essay question.
Okay.
And it was like I wrote like 2.5 pages.
That's
about a film that was, I'm not kidding you, it was 7 minutes long. Maybe 8. I forget. I'm gonna look it up after this. I think it was Hollis Frampton actually. I don't know. I can't remember his fucking name. 7-minute long shot of just a lemon.
Did the camera move?
Nope.
Oh, okay.
Nope. But the light moved. Like over the 7 minutes, it went from fully lit to completely dark.
Oh.
And actually, I'm not gonna lie, we watch a lot of like shit like that. Okay, now I'm gonna tell just a couple of stories about some experimental films because I just gotta get the shit off my chest. We watch a ton of shit like that, man. And I gotta say, like, the lemon thing kind of became a joke in my class because we also had a whole lecture about a lemon, which sounds stupid, but at the same, like, and it was dumb, but at the same time, it was kind of one of my favorite classes because before we walked into the lecture hall, there was this, like, it was like a podium. It looked like a pillar from, like, a coliseum, like a white, like, it looked like it was mimicking, like, a marble, like, beautiful pillar. I mean, it was, like, made out of plywood or whatever. But it was completely white, right in the middle of the hallway, right outside of our lecture hall, with just a lemon on top of it, before we got into class. So we're all walking into class, like, fuck is that? You know, or, like, clearly we're going to be talking about that or something.
Mm-hmm.
So we get into class, and my teacher, I love I actually do, like, I'm not a huge fan of that class, but I love my professor. Great guy. But we got into this, like, talk about, this is so off topic from the rest of the fucking podcast, but whatever, man.
It's all good.
I'm just laughing about how different our classes probably are. But he, like, brings the podium in and plops the lemon on top of it again, and then, like, shines just one spotlight on it in the, like, down, because it's, you know, it's kind of like there's like 100 kids in that class, like, it's a pretty big class. Turns off all the lights except for one spotlight on the lemon on the podium. And, no, that's not what he does. The first thing he does is bring the lemon in and he just hands it around the kids, like, in the audience. And he was like, "Can you guys tell me what that is?" And we're like, "It's a lemon? Like is that a trick question? Like, it's clearly a fucking lemon." And then he grabs it, puts it on the podium in the front of class. All lights go off except for one spotlight, and he goes, "What is it now?" And we're like, "A lemon?" Like, I don't get it. And he was like, "What if I say it's art now? What if you saw this at an art gallery? What would you think then?" And we were kind of like, fuck you, first of all, but also just like, I mean, it's kind of bullshit because you could just be like, "Oh, the lemon represents," and, like, he was like, "I get that, but, like, genuinely, what's the line? Yeah. Like, when is it art?" He's like, "I could have, like, this could be part of my installment at some, like, art museum, and, like, why is that, if it's art to me, why is that less valuable than something else, than, like, a sculpture?" And it was, like, actually became this, like, super fucking interesting debate about, like, what, like, actually fucking is art. Like, I don't, like, at what point is it not just an object anymore? It is, like, transcended the, like, just, it's, like, something else. And it was so fucking interesting, man.
Well, yeah, because you always see those articles of, like, man buys blank canvas for $40,000.
Yeah, and it's like, why? And a lot of the shit we watch in class, that's, like, my experimental film class, is very much, like, pushing those boundaries of, like, how far, like, what is a movie, you know? And it's so funny because my friends and I just, like, just shat on that class. It was the stupidest shit ever. But here I am, fucking 2 months later, still fucking thinking about it. So clearly it did a good job. But I still think about that. And of course, this is so fucking off topic. But I just thought it was funny because I'm thinking about all your pre-med classes, and I'm talking about lemons.
Oh, I can't. I'll give you a counter story afterwards. I've got a good quick one.
We'll do a quick counter story. But I'm pretty much done. But I just thought that shit was fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And I still do. And I'm just like, God damn it. I hate how much that worked on me. But anyway, that's what it's like for Stuart in school. Let's hear what it's like for Ben.
Okay, so it's a super, super quick story. This is my physics class.
It's not
already. Honestly, like, I haven't had that hard of a time in it, but a lot of people, I have a fairly decent background in physics. I took a lot in high school.
Sure.
A lot of people don't have that same privilege, so
sure.
They've struggled a little more. My roommate is also in the class, and he's in a different section than me, so we took the exams in like 2 different rooms. So I went and took the exam. I was like, yeah, whatever. It is what it is. And so he said that he went into the exam room, sat down, and, like, started the exam, took it for about 10 minutes, and suddenly a girl who was sitting across from him just started crying.
just tears.
Yeah, started
bawling.
Yep. And then after a couple minutes, he said she stopped crying and she went back to taking the exam. So
I'm just picturing you're like, God damn it, this test is a little bit hard, and somebody just starts fucking bawling. Nobody does anything. She just like, and then keeps taking.
I mean, you gotta finish it. So.
See, that was happening while I was looking at a lemon on the podium, and look at that. Look at that. Look where we're at. We're in the same spot, Ben.
Honestly,
does it really fucking matter?
I don't think it does.
We'll get more philosophical in the next one, more existential. What does it mean, Ben? Well, thank you very much for. I'm pulling up the what we're gonna end with here today. But thank you very much for like opening up so much about that. It's actually very interesting. I don't think I've ever actually talked to you that in depth about.
I don't think anyone has.
I don't think. All right, well there you go. It's like a little
most people
session.
Told me to shut up after like an hour.
Yeah, I know. I said, Ben, I need at least an hour out of you, buddy. No, super interesting, and I'm stoked to actually see Madison next weekend. Pretty hyped about that one. But yeah, no, I think a lot of people will find, hopefully, I mean, I know that our friends have already kind of been through the whole freshman thing, but if there's anybody who's about to be a freshman next year, they might find some comfort, or if people are unhappy at school, they might find some comfort in some of the stuff you said about, like, how you knew when you wanted to switch and all that.
I think it's just important to keep in mind that the beginning's always going to be tough for everyone, and you shouldn't judge your experience just based on the beginning, but if it doesn't look like it's getting better, don't stay in a bad situation.
Sure. Just
for like your pride's sake.
And also to be fair, you did mention that you like really tried to put yourself out there pretty much as possible.
Yeah. I mean, in retrospect, I think I still could have done a better job.
But it sounds like, I mean, you weren't just like, oh, this sucks, I'm going to Madison. I mean, you were like trying to like,
I did try a lot of different things. So I think it's important
which is very admirable.
Do that before you make any final decisions.
Absolutely. Well, there are your words of wisdom out of the smartest dude I know. So if you've listened to the podcast before, you'll know, or if you've listened towards the end, all the way to the end, then you'll know that we like to end the podcast with a little bit of a quote here out of the squad quote book.
Oh God, you're not going to put any of mine in here, are you?
I think I did one of yours the last one. It's coming out tomorrow. I guess you'll hear it tomorrow.
Which one was it?
Actually, when this comes out, the other one will have already been out for a week. It was, I can't imagine being nice to my friends.
Okay, that one's fine. A lot of my quotes are highly questionable.
Most of the quotes I refuse to read, but I tend to find ones that are pretty funny, that are pretty harmless.
That is a good one. Okay.
And this one's also very fitting because I am extending a video that I made for my channel. I'm extending it to one of my film finals, and it has to do with Joe O'Neill, and this quote is from Joe O'Neill. So there you go. And the quote is, quote, "When in doubt, choose the middle. But if you're driving, you have a 100% chance of being hit." Which, honestly, that's just a wonderful quote. I couldn't have ever come up with anything that great. That just about wraps it up. Ben, any last words, son?
No, I think that's about all I got.
No, how was the podcast experience? How would you rate it?
I thought it was fun. I had a good time.
I would definitely be down to do it again. We missed Lucas. Schedules weren't lining up, but he will be back And I'm sure Ben will be back again sometime soon.
Probably another few weeks.
Few weeks, and you're definitely gonna slide back in one or two. Well, thank you so much for listening. The clip from this week will be linked down below if you'd like to check that out. And otherwise, keep on rocking and rolling. I think Ben and I are gonna go have a bonfire now. Pretty soon.
It's a nice night.
It's a beautiful. Nights are finally getting beautiful. All right, thank you very much for listening. This has been the 125 Podcast, and I will talk to you again next week.